What are we gonna do when we get back?
What are we gonna do when we get back?
I take a shower and hit the rack.
Take a shower and hit the rack.
Welcome to Charlie Mike. If you're a combat veteran with an entrepreneurial bug and want to know what highly successful combat veteranpreneurs are doing to transform their sacrifice and experience to create their visual reality, then this is dedicated to your inspiring and fulfilling future. And now your host, Dwayne Perro.
No way, gotta run, feet, lots of fun.
Invest in Yourself ebook is my free gift to you for listening to the show and becoming part of the CO Nation. To receive your free gift, please go to landmarklifecoaching.com. Thank you for joining us on this episode. There are so many veterans with the core strengths to become successful entrepreneurs and continue to make a huge positive impact on our country. Here we highlight the amazing successes of combat veteranpreneurs. Combat veterans, for the purpose of this show, are soldiers, sailors, Marines, and airmen who have served the United States in wars, campaigns, and in theater on foreign soil or hostile waters. Our guest today is Scott Warren. Scott is the owner and chief ad strategist at the Exfil Project, traffic and conversion agency. As a digital nomad, he is successfully combining business building and paid social media advertising with exploring and plenty of time in the great outdoors. He and his family are traveling the USA in a 1985 Winnebago. Scott is a former elite special operations operator with numerous overseas and war zone deployments. He holds a Master's of Business Administration in International Business from Thunderbird School of Global Management. All right, Scott, well, welcome to the show, and thank you for being a guest.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Dwayne. Happy to be here.
Great. I am very excited to have you tell our loyal listeners all about your journey from a combat veteran to a successful entrepreneur. Before we get into your entrepreneurial experience, please give our audience an overview of your military experience.
All right, so I'm not going to get too deep into like DD-214 stuff, but basically I went in the military in 1995. I spent 5 years in 1st Ranger Battalion down in Savannah, Georgia, and then I went to a selection, and for 7 years after that, I was an operator. I got out of the Army in 2006, and I've been doing entrepreneurship mostly since then. That's kind of the quick version.
Sure, no, that's great. That's great. So you were in the Army.
I did. Yep, I was a Ranger, and then left there right before 9/11. Then 9/11 came along, and I did a number of combat deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan, and then, like I said, left in 2006.
Okay, great. Scott, can you tell our listeners about the business that you have created utilizing your various military experiences?
Sure. The Exfil Project is a digital marketing agency. I focused heavily on paid traffic and conversion optimization. So what's different about me, a lot of people focus on the SEO and things like that, but basically when a company's successful and they have a proven sales process, but they want to scale up, they come to Exfil Project, and what we do is create a strategy to go to Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and some other platforms to really pay to now scale that up to the next level. And then we're obviously there's a sales funnel and all that, so we keep an eye on that and make sure everything's converting and optimized the whole way through.
Yeah, so do you guys focus on any platforms in particular, or does it depend on the business?
Facebook is by far the biggest platform we're on. On occasion, we will do the other platforms, but most everybody we talk to is like, hey, we need Facebook ads. Okay, we'll go there. The other, when we grow out of Facebook ads, then the other platforms are available.
Okay, great. Yeah, because I know a lot of entrepreneurs, they kind of get swallowed up in the social media realm. There's God. I mean, you look at the framework for social media out there, and it's an insane number of options depending on how you want to deliver your content and how you want to reach your clients. And so they look at it and it's overwhelming. And what they try to do, instead of focusing on one or two key areas,
Yes.
say, well, let's do it all, right? Let's
Right.
get out there. But then it becomes, how do you maintain that? You know, you got to be able to have content be in a cycle so that it's predictable, right? And people
Right.
know on this day Scott's going to put out something, so I'll go look or I'll subscribe and I'll know that it's coming. Because if you start getting all over the board and they're like, oh, well, he hasn't posted here in 6 months, he hasn't posted here in a year, and he's posted here
Right.
more,
That
but,
bores
yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So part of what I do is try to, a lot of people get caught in that trap of trying to be everywhere.
Mhm.
And some of the reason they do that is because they don't want to spend the money. Right. Because they see, they do a Facebook ad, and what they do is they go boost a post, and they don't know who they boosted it post, and they boost it for $20, and next day they got a like or two, and they spent $20, and there's no measure of it.
Mhm.
So for me, there's two key things. One, from a lifestyle perspective and just my own personal philosophy, time is really important to me. All right. Like you mentioned, I'm living on the road in an RV with my family. Time with my family is really important, and just time to kind of appreciate, sunrises, sunsets, all the good things.
Mhm.
And so when you start spending all your time doing stuff because it's free, you can miss out on it. So for me, I can, once somebody knows what they're doing, you can boost a post for say $10 a day and get far more reach and reach far more people than had you worked for 4 hours doing some of the long-term stuff. Now, don't get me wrong. This isn't like I believe in all the other things. Everything has its place. SEO, outreach, guest posting, all those type of things. But sometimes people get so wrapped around it, they miss kind of the forest for the trees. And so that's what I try to help people with is making sure that they're spending their money in the right place and that they're getting the best return for that money. And then it kind of frees them up to focus on the business itself. Like, what are they good at? I'll take care of the getting the traffic to you, and you take care of whatever you're good at.
Yeah, so you have a proven method that you use for your clients to, you kind of take the reins of boosting their posts and traffic to optimize it for them, or do you teach them how to do that?
So mostly what I do is do the ads for them.
Okay.
So I take their content and amplify it. And I find people that they never would have found. I pay to find traffic, all the kind of using the artificial intelligence of, Facebook for one, and really, digging into that and then optimizing the ads over time. Whereas, for somebody who's busy doing a business, they don't really have time to do that. What I don't do typically is the actual content, because like in this case, for instance, right, your podcast, your voice is your voice. I can't imitate that. Mm-hmm. And other, some of my clients are women. Like I can't imitate a woman's voice, but I can get their message to a much bigger audience than they have.
Yeah, I've got some experience using the Facebook and even Google ads, and I think that was my downfall. Is I would create content and get the ads out there, and it would boost significantly the traffic, for say to my website. But it didn't really boost, level of interaction or return. And so in time, I'm like, okay, after 3 months, I'm like, okay, I'm turning this off, right? Because I don't know how to make it better. And so, and it's time consuming, like you say.
Right. And that's the key part of it is when I work with somebody, we sit down and come up with a strategy on how are we doing this? Where are we sending the traffic? And, it's by far, it's not an instant thing. It takes time. But at some point for me, I think there should be some return on that investment in the ad spend. You're not just, unless you just want to be famous and you're spending a bunch of money for that. Normally a business wants to make money. And so that's what we do is kind of optimize it through and then test and experiment through the whole thing. And like when things aren't working, I'll tell them, or, the optimization side, I work with clients and I have this great landing page and I listen to all the gurus and they said this, and this, and it just doesn't, nobody wants it. And then, it takes a few tweaks, or it might take, weeks or a month to get the right offer in front of the right people, and then all of a sudden it works,
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I mean, just myself as an example, I spent 3-4 months and I didn't really get the traction I hoped. And so if it took me to work with somebody like you to do that type of thing, and it only took 30 days or 45 days to get results, then from my experience, I'm like, oh, okay, this is well worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. So the other thing I do occasionally, and again, this sort of goes into my time management. I don't do this too often, but I do consulting. So if somebody wants to, like, they don't want to pay me the full fee, but they still need help, then I'll consult for a much smaller monthly fee. And then we have meetings a couple times a month, and then they can basically, like, hey, over Messenger, hey, this is happening, or this, and it kind of gets people over those humps and through, what does this CTR mean, or what does this number mean? Okay, this is good, this is bad, keep doing it, stop, that kind of stuff. So that's another thing I do, but I tend to stay away from that more, because that, again, if I get wrapped up in giving people my time, that's kind of not what I want to do.
Right, exactly. Well, that's a great approach, because that's one of the big things about being an entrepreneur is you want to be able to manage your time. You don't want to be driven by somebody else's agenda.
Right.
And,
yeah. So we're very results oriented. So I don't work hourly. I don't check in except for hey, this is the results. Hey, we've got sales. Hey, this is what we're looking at this week. That kind of stuff. It's not like hey, I did 2 hours of work today, pay me for that. It's it's structured.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. Yeah, that's great. So at what point did you know you wanted to take the entrepreneurial path as you were leaving the military?
So it really wasn't leaving the military. I didn't realize it. It was after the military. I worked for a company called K2 Solutions out of North Carolina, and it was really neat. The owner of it is an ex-operator, and he moved out of the military and started this company from a one-man show to I don't know how big they are now, well into the probably tens of millions, if not hundreds. But it was really neat kind of working there and seeing that, this business thing can really have some impact and have some like greater good stuff, mission focus, like you had in the military, like I had. So I think that was kind of my first glimpse at it. And then after that, I did some contract work where I had to actually build my own, entity and all that stuff. And that was the first time when I started really looking into like the advantages of being a small business owner. Mm-hmm. That was those two pieces together was like, this is definitely the direction to go, because it's just too smart to own a business and too interesting, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. So based on your combat military experience, do you have any core strengths that have served you well in building your business that you can really kind of attribute to your time spent in the military?
Yeah, definitely flexibility and learning to fail fast. Experiments. One of the things, this is obviously, I've been out of the military for 10 years, but one of the things when you fail in the military, the results of that failure are catastrophic, right? Mm-hmm. And so taking the lessons learned from those and flipping them on the next assault, on the next mission, and saying, okay, here's what went wrong, and how do we fix that? Outside of the emotional impact of whatever happened on an objective, you flip that and okay, how do we fix it and not have that happen again? And so when it comes to entrepreneurship, it's like, okay, like one, there's a piece of it that nothing is as bad, right? Nothing is completely catastrophic. Right. And on the other hand, you can still learn, just looking at the data, learning, listening to people. Okay, is this working? No. Okay, let's adjust. I mean, I've been kind of constantly adjusting where I'm going for the last 10 years, small adjustments the whole way. So it's nothing survives first contact. Right. No plan survives contact. It's kind of the same thing. No business no business survives their first customer or something like that. Exactly. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that's one of the biggest things I've taken away as a strength.
Yeah, definitely. It's important in an entrepreneurial realm, being able to recover from, and it's not really necessarily even failures. It's wrong directions or
absolutely
things that just aren't gonna help you in the end. Being able to have the the wherewithal to pull back and say, all right, we need to take a different direction. And
right.
yeah.
I mean, basically the after action review process, I don't know what the other services call it, probably the same thing, but it's something similar that I still do. Either myself and my wife will work through some stuff because she's part of the company, or just internally, it's like, okay, where did this go wrong, or where is it going right? Okay, do more of that, So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That's good. And a lot of the flexibility is so important. I mean, if you get set on a particular outcome and you just keep charging forward just because that's what you originally thought would work, and
right,
you're not flexible, you're really gonna be in a hurt in time.
Yeah, one of the things I've seen, especially having been out of the military now and seeing veterans and PTSD issues and all kinds of things that are affecting veterans today, is the people that I worked with in the military, and this is veterans in general, are super flexible when they're given missions and they're told, go do a mission. And even if it's not part of their job description, they figure out a way to get it done. And when people leave the military, suddenly they don't have a mission. And so they lose that flexibility. And that flexibility is an amazing core strength that I think a lot of veterans have. Mm-hmm. And so I think they once people are out, they have to remember that that's there. That's, they didn't just do XYZ when they were in the military. It wasn't like a left, right, and limit. They had probably some pretty good variances, especially over the last 15 years of the GWAT and stuff. So anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's one of the important things about this podcast, is being able to get those experiences out, because I believe it was a period of time unlike no other. And one of my recent guests, he said his dad said it formed what he would call the next great generation. And
yeah.
So I when he said that, it was kind of an aha moment for me. I'm like, yeah, I would absolutely agree with that we have just seen the development of the next great generation based on their experiences. So it can only help the country.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, so listeners, we're going to take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back. Landmark Life Coaching's vision is to be the nation's premier coaching partner for inspiring and empowering those in transition. They partner with courageous groundbreakers and transitioning veterans to create fulfilling and empowering futures that they desire. They have partnered with various entrepreneurs and transitioning veterans to leverage their core strengths and implement the framework for the future they always dreamed of. Could you or anyone you know benefit from a success partner to bring clarity to your future or their future? If so, please check out landmarklifecoaching.com for more information and charliemikepodcast.com for the Charlie Mike Podcast, showcasing the successes of combat veteranpreneurs. Okay, we are back with Scott Warren talking about the amazing entrepreneurial path that he has been on. And at this time, I'd like to go into what I call our In the Zone segment. That's where we all love when we hit that sweet spot or get that feeling that we are doing what we are meant to do or are where we are meant to be. So let me ask you, Scott, what was that point in time, or if there was one, where you knew being an entrepreneur was meant for you?
I guess it was probably after finishing up some contract work and really having some time to go out on my own, and my first few successes where money actually came in was like, okay, I can actually do this. I did something and there were results, and it looked like it was scalable, and that was just that was it. It's hard to pinpoint really, but
yeah.
It's just sort of that feeling of success.
Well, that's a great point, though, because a lot of businesses, one of the things, people have a lot of great ideas and they would make great businesses, but then there's the whole aspect of how do I monetize it? How do I get people to buy the service, buy the product, buy whatever I have to offer, and show that it has value or solves a problem for them?
So let me hit two things on that. One is marketing is important. Like how are you going to tell the people about your great product, right? And does your product actually solve a problem? I know a lot of people, I've been through it too. Like I had a great product, but nobody wanted to buy it. So how great was it really? And then the other thing is like, everybody thinks business is about the idea and the one great idea and the painted rock and the whatever else you see on Shark Tank. But really, there's a formula, like a math formula for a successful business. And if you bring in more than you put out, you make money. And people tend to forget that. And so when you start doing the things you're talking about, how much is this going to cost to make? How much can I sell it for? How much time is it going to take? How much, and time has value too. How much is it going to cost to actually get a customer to come in and buy this? How much in ads? And so those are the things that people tend to forget when they have their aha moment with their great idea. Sit down with that aha moment and put it in that formula and start adding up, like, what are the costs? And just because it doesn't add up the first time doesn't mean you can't switch things around and say, okay, well, I wanted to charge $10 for it, but really it needs to be $50. Okay, well, charge $50. Maybe it's not quite that simple, but there's everything's flexible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Within that formula. So.
Yeah, and that's great advice. I mean, you really need to know that before you get into it. One example that kind of stands out in my mind, there's this where my wife and I live, there's this one restaurant. It's been through probably 6 or 7 different owners in the past 10 years. And every time I see a new one go in, you can tell they're doing construction, they're changing the signs, they're making a different kind of restaurant. And every time I'm like, oh, I really hope this one did that analysis that you're talking about
right
up front, because I just see their retirement money going out the window with every dumpster of remodel that you see go on.
Yeah.
You can tell they're not,
Yeah, one of my things that went wrong, I was building an app, and it was basically focused around deployed parents and reading to their kids. But the idea behind it, I spent all this money building a product and having coders and a company build it, but I didn't spend the time on the marketing and the formula piece. How is it actually going to make money? And at the end of the day, like, we don't have it because I didn't really think through those things. So that was a big lesson learned for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Pat Flynn put out a good book this past year called Will It Fly?
Yeah.
And you walk through that. You walk through what he's got in there. It's very similar in nature to what you're talking about, to figure those things out. And he gives you a lot of great models to follow and templates to use to kind of document these things, walk through the whole process, and really figure that out before you get too far down the stretch.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Like you said, the point though, if you get to an area where you're like, okay, it's not working out, like, I got to charge more or whatever, then it's really just see it as a pivot point. You just need to pivot your model and not can it, right? Not just
right.
Well, throw that away.
Right. Yeah. I mean, but or sometimes it's not going to work too, and that's a call you have to make. Probably a little tougher than pivot, but yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's a good point though. You have to be not tied to a particular outcome and understand that there may come a point where you shut the doors on that, but that doesn't mean your entrepreneurial life is done either. It just means you're on to the next entrepreneurial venture, and
right.
It's just a journey, because the most successful entrepreneurs, they don't always close the doors on it. They sell it, and then they do something else, and they sell it, and they do something else, and so
sure, absolutely, yep,
yeah.
Or people try a few things, and then I've tried a bunch of different things before this agency thing took off. So it's all experiments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely, I agree. So what are some tools or resources that you've used that you think were really instrumental in getting your entrepreneurial focus?
Let's see. Patriot Bootcamp is one big one. The people that I met at Patriot Bootcamp, it's Techstars Patriot Bootcamp, and they do it, I think, 2 or 3 times a year now. But it's basically a group of other veteran entrepreneurs to get face to face, and it's just like some of the relationships that I've come out of that with have completely changed my direction and where I've been in the last since 2013, really, when I was just finishing up the MBA. And so that. Being a digital nomad, it's really hard for me to get to events like that. So a lot of my work and relationship building is done in Facebook and Facebook groups. And so I have a lot of people who are friends and we've had conversations, talk Facebook heads, take marketing, talk advice, people I've met through other people online. And so for me, that's been really important. If you're of location based, like get out and just meet people and find people. And then the GI Bill, I did an MBA for, I paid for some of it, but the GI Bill helped, paid for that. To me, that's just leaving money on the table if you don't use it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, while, people will give, the entrepreneurship, Silicon Valley thing is, drop out of college and build your multi-billion-dollar company. There's nothing wrong with having an MBA too, and being able to, fall back on that, or, dig into that pool of tools that you learn there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. I've gotten all the way up to my master's degree and haven't paid for one yet, right? I started in the military. The military paid for associate's degree. Then I went on to my bachelor's degree. And then I was lucky the company that I'm at now is a veteran-based company. We are probably 90% veterans. And they have a very good tuition plan. And so I was able to get my master's paid for through the company. So
that's awesome.
Definitely take advantage of that GI Bill, though. I see so many people that don't. It's like it's money on the table right there. Like even when I was living in Colombia, I had finished my MBA already a year or two before, and I started taking online Spanish lessons through online. And so they're sending me a stipend. I'm taking Spanish lessons online, and then I could go out and talk to people in Spanish. So it was like, okay, I didn't actually need another degree, but it was still stuff that I could use, and why not? Oh, absolutely. So. Yeah. It's definitely much easier now that you can do the online schooling. When I was starting, it was, you had to go to class. You had to go to a physical building to take the class.
Right. I did some of those correspondence courses way back too.
Yeah. By the time I did my master's, it was like all online. It was amazing. And so I was like, man, I wish I could have done the first. My master's was an executive program. So I was living in Istanbul at the time. And so I'd fly to Switzerland, do a week. And then in between, we would work together as teams or individually, all online. So it was kind of this good mix of both on and off. Interesting, though. Yeah, definitely. It was well worth doing, because you'll gain so much valuable insight and lessons from the whole education process. And believe me, when I got out of high school, I was the last one that said they would ever go to college.
Same. Nope. Yeah, same. That's why I ended up in the Army.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, that's all I need.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, this has been an amazing conversation. As we're running out of time, I'd like to give you an opportunity to let our listeners know how they can get in contact with you or learn more about your business.
Okay. So the website is exfilproject.com. And it's exfilproject.com. And if you want to contact me, do that URL with contact. And you can just write me a note. I'll get it and get back to you. And especially if you're looking for help with ads, if you're in a business that's successful but trying to figure out, the social media space and paid social media, let's definitely talk. And if you're somewhere not quite there yet, or you just want some help, we can chat and see what we can do consulting wise.
Okay, great. And is that it?
And yeah, you can just email me at scott@exfilproject.com too.
Okay, great. Yeah.
And I'm sure we'll put some LinkedIn, LinkedIn and stuff in the show notes. So.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, thank you for being on the show, and most importantly, thank you for your service to our country.
Hey, thank you, Dwayne. It was great being here, and thank you too.
Remember, loyal listeners, we are the home of the free because of the brave.
Thank you for tuning in to Charlie Mike Podcast with Dwayne Perro. Our objective is to bring successful veteranpreneurs to help inspire and provide insight into what helped them become successful, with the hopes you can take away various strategies you can implement in your entrepreneurial journey. Visit us on iTunes, leave us a rating and review, and let us know what you thought of the show. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Hoorah!